Great. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another great episode of the Debate Night. Today being the 29th day of July 2021, and of course, our last debate night on this series of the COVID series. We dedicated the whole month of July debating about matters COVID-19, and finally, we're coming to the end of this. This also is the last Thursday of the month of July. 5 months to the end of the year, but we are here still strong doing our debates here where we need to be doing them. So tonight we have a very important question to tackle, and the question is on Kenya's preparedness towards tackling disasters. My name is Rapoth Opono, the host of this great debate that we call the Debate Night, and of course, every Thursday when we come together, we are joined by a couple of debaters, two teams. Each team has two debaters. On the proposing side, we have a team of two people. On the opposing side, we have a team of two people. The only time that this cannot be that way is whenever there are any technicalities or whenever there are issues which are beyond our control. But we are glad today we have the two teams as had been communicated on the poster. So on the proposing side, we have a gentleman by the name Hudson Ochingo from Nyeri, who is a social media influencer. He's joining us all the way from Nyeri County. Very proud young man and proud of his country. Also on the proposing side, we have a gentleman by the name Derek Masaba-Were, who is the programs coordinator here at the Camp D Voices. On the opposing side, we have a lady and a gentleman. The gentleman is a commerce student from the Technical University of Kenya, that is Ian Nyongesa. And the lady is Victory Mugambi, who is a strategic and crisis communication consultant and a student at the Kenyatta University. Welcome, lady and gentlemen. Karibuni sana kwa debate night. And here we are. So without wasting much time, just to take you through for the sake of those joining us for the first time today, debate night has very simple rules that we have a total of 1 hour to debate. The debate is not about the moderator, but about the debaters presenting their facts. Each debater for the first round has a minute each to give an introduction. Then we move to the second round where each debater has a total of 5 minutes. The next round, we allow the members of the audience to ask their questions to the debaters. In that segment, in absence of questions, we'll allow the debaters to use that time wisely and, of course, give them generously to cross-examine each other. Then we move to the next segment where each debater has a total of 3 minutes. Then final round, each debater has a total of a minute. The timekeeper tonight is Wilda Nyagoha. So for the first 1 minute, the moment you hear the bell, your time is up. For the other rounds, apart from the last one and the first one, the moment you hear just one bell, definitely that means that you have a minute to go. Then the moment you hear the bell rang twice, your time is up and you need to leave the stage. Leaving the stage is simply muting your mic and letting the next speaker take stage. So at this moment, allow me now to introduce the first speaker of the proposing team. The topic tonight, yes, the topic tonight is Kenya ever prepared to tackle disasters? That's the topic that we're tackling tonight. The first proposer, is it Derek Were or Manoti? Kindly take the stage.
Yeah, thank you so much. I am Manoti, as you have been introduced to. I'm a social media strategist, and an influencer. I would like to say that the government is always prepared for disasters. As you are aware, we have had various disasters in the country. The most recent one being COVID-19. We had other disasters like, as you are aware, in Nakuru. And also we had other disasters like floods, and there have been a lot of response from the government. Mitigation measures have been put in place to ensure that all the people and the lives are secured. If you can ask, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for respecting the time. So we head to this first speaker, the opposing side.
Good evening. My name is Victory Mugambi. I am a crisis and communication So he's a strategic communication consultant as well as a fourth-year student at Kenyatta University. So on the introduction part, I think the beginning of this is for us to identify the keywords of this motion. And for us as a team, it's prepared, tackle, and disaster. And prepared, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is making someone ready for anything or an occurrence. And to tackle it is dealing with the issue. And a disaster is anything that tends to disrupt the society or community's ways of life or how they source their income. I'm just using layman's terms. So let us understand these first three terms. And when we understand the first three terms, then we can see whether this country is ever prepared for a disaster. And according to our research, this country is never prepared, because preparing is putting people ready. Our communities are never ready to deal with the disasters that get us anyway. So we are not, and we have never been ready to deal with disasters. Thank you.
Wonderful. Second speaker, the proposing team.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Derek Were, Programs Coordinator, CAMD Voices, and also a mental health advocate. Today I'm here to defend my country, my belief, and those who believe in this land. We are here, as Victory has said, to discuss about disaster and preparedness. A road accident is a disaster, and at times it can lead to death. And maybe they want to tell us how we should prepare ourselves for death, or how we should not prepare ourselves for death, or how this country has failed to prepare itself and its people when it comes to this calamity. Ladies and gentlemen, this discussion is not just about the government. This is a conversation about me as a person. It is about all of us. How are we prepared whenever we face disasters? What are the measures that we have put collectively together to ensure we can fight disasters, whether they are natural or they are man-made? How prepared are we? Sit back and follow us through as we enlighten you about why we believe Kenya has always been prepared to fight disasters. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Derek. We head to the second speaker, the opposing team, Ian Nyongesa.
Esteemed audience, ladies and gentlemen, see, the human mind is designed to believe it's always right until proven wrong. Proposers. That is why I'm here. My name is Ian Nyongesa, Ian to be precise. And without any fear of being contradicted whatsoever, I strongly stand against the motion at hand. Now, gentlemen of the proposition side, persuade me, educate me beyond any reasonable doubt and with force of reason that Kenya is ever prepared to tackle disasters. Persuade me.
Great. That is a plea and an ask from Ian. Yes, and all the speakers now have used their 1 minute very well. For the introduction, just to welcome everyone joining us in the virtual hall here in our Zoom virtual hall. Karibuni sana. In case you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, kindly go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is the CAMD Voices. We are live right now. Keep telling a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that we are live. We are on. In case of any questions or any comments that you'd like to give, let's proceed and do that in the comment section when we are live on YouTube, so that it will even be easy to pick and keep the conversation going on the other side. Now I present to you the first speaker once more from the proposing side, that is Manoti. Manoti, you have 5 minutes now to give your presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much. As you have heard from my colleague Derek, he has said that a disaster is an occurrence that is beyond human capacity, that we are unable to tackle. As a government, I can tell you for free that we have always responded. I'm saying we because we are the government. We elect the government. We are in government for the people. The government is for the people, by the people, and for the people. So when we say we are always ready, we are always ready. I can tell you for free that in the just concluded budget for the 2021-2022, the government allocated 1 billion shillings for the control of floods that occur in the country on a seasonal basis. For example, you remember last year we had floods in Elgeyo Marakwet, counties that displaced people. So those are the kind of disasters that the government usually aims at. I can tell you for free, the 1 billion shillings was started to be spent in order to equip those people or be able to move them to better places. For instance, the counties that were affected, you remember the government said that they were able to settle them, build better structures for them, and even some who are supported through their M-Pesa money transfers in order to be able to decide what they could be able to do with the money. Because the government also added other donations like blankets, they gave them food and many other things. Number two, we have various organizations that the government has formed. For example, we have the Red Cross. The Red Cross main objectives are, number one, to ensure that the people and the areas that are affected by floods, they are able to reach them very quickly and also be able to rescue them in case of any danger that occurs. One of the objectives and also the achievements of Red Cross, as they stipulated from last year, is that they are able to prevent disasters if possible, and also be able to save lives. These are some of the bodies that the government has given teeth and money, and also equipped them with the possible equipment to ensure that they are able to curb the disasters. The other bodies include we have the health departments, like the flying doctors. Whenever the pandemic or the disasters arise, they are always already on the ground to ensure that all the people, the individuals that are affected are always secured. I can tell you for free that the government is always on quick response to ensure that no life is lost, no property is destroyed, and also they quickly make sure that the people are able to be in a safe places. Lastly, to show that the government is always ready for the disasters, look at how we dealt with the locust menace. The PS for agriculture then, PS Munya, was on the ground, ensure that the locusts and also the people affected will also be compensated. So the locusts, we dealt with them, and it was a plus. I think that's how Munya, the then CS, got famous for the work well done. The floods have emphasized, we have dealt with them. One of the achievements of the government, even on overseas, is to ensure that people are safe and lives are also. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Manoti, that is Hudson Ochingo, or famous known as Manoti from the Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri County. Thank you for even utilizing your time very well. We head to the first speaker, the opposing team. Victory Mugambi was just been smiling all along when Manoti was giving the presentation. Vicky, karibu.
Asante sana. I am just, I think we live in two different countries, but we'll tackle that during cross-examination. So I want us to emphasize on the word tackle and preparedness. So tackle as a verb is defined as making determined efforts to deal with a problem or a difficult task. We all We all know that disasters are a difficult task, but the question is, has the government been making determined efforts to deal with them? Kenya as a country has an exhaustive disaster profile. We have droughts, we have famine every 5 to 10 years, we have floods every other year, we have a pandemic right now, we still are fighting malaria, we still are fighting cholera. We were fighting cholera during a COVID pandemic. We are having cancer also being identified as a national disaster. We are having maternal deaths. Kenya as a country has an exhaustive disaster profile, and all this can be evaded through proper planning. Now, let's focus on the 1999 to the 2001 drought. It is the worst drought in 100 years that even as a world that we've had. Now, Kenya, as a nation, it is estimated that 4.5 million people were affected, and 60 to 70% of livestock in arid and semi-arid areas were lost. And it is estimated the government, humanitarian and other non-profit organizations, as well as development partners, spent $340 million to respond. I didn't say to prepare, to respond to the disaster. But had there been preparedness, because there were warning signs, they would have only spent $170 million. That is half the amount, my friends, half the amount that was spent to respond to something that they had been warned of. This means, due to lack of preparedness, which is why we are discussing this today, us as a people and our economy, we were to pay multiples. When we think of 2001 and 1989, when you tell people $340 million, that is a lot of money. But had there been preparedness, had we had food banks, had we had a bumper harvest, and the irony of this is, in 1998, 1997, there was plentiful of harvest, but was there storage to put this food? Did we tell people that they'll have this food? When Derek said that we never know when disaster occurs, that's true. But I believe when you communicate to our people that we are expecting something, then psychologically people start to prepare for an event. The question is, was there communication prior to the drought? There were warning signs, it was said, but did the government communicate? Did the government put in measures to prepare to deal and respond to this disaster? The answers are no. That is 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 10 years later, a drought still happened. 1.2 million people were affected with it. And the estimated number of people who are to be affected by hunger was 10 million in this country. In this country, there were still warning signs. The government, at least this time, had food baskets full, but did the food reach the people? Which means there's an issue with the system of delivering things during a disaster. So this is why we are not prepared. There isn't a good system to do these things. When there are floods, why do we need to go and evict people when the flood is happening? Ask people to relocate prior to the flood. It's a lack of coordination within the government. It's a lot of politics, because politicians want to look good when giving blankets. I mean, why is giving blankets a disaster mitigation? Give me a place to sleep, give me prior warning sign, ask me to relocate, and give me security that is my land for the time being. And when all this is done, I can go back to my home. That is disaster preparedness. But what we are seeing in this country, it's politicizing the lives of the citizens of this nation. This is not PR, and it's not gonna work. We've lost a lot of lives thus far, and it's time it stops. It is time it stops. We are never prepared. We are never prepared. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Having heard from the first speakers of each team, that is Manoti from the proposing team, and Victory Mugambi also from the opposing team, the question we are tackling tonight as a country, that is the Republic of Kenya, are we ever ready to tackle disasters? Remember, this is a month that we've been tackling topics on COVID-19. from the first Thursday to the second Thursday to the fourth Thursday, and this is now actually the fifth Thursday because this month had about 5 Thursdays, and we are very glad. So we are heading to the second speaker, the proposing team, and that is Derek Masaba-Were.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and my sincere apologies today. I cannot join you guys with my video. They say that a good speech is like a miniskirt. It is short enough to trigger the listener's attention, but long enough to cover the subject matter. Allow me to agree and disagree on some of the things that have been said. I will repeat on the definition of disaster. That is a serious problem occurring over a short or even long period of time that causes widespread human, material, or environmental loss, which exceeds the ability of the community to use its own resources to tackle the issue. We are discussing about disaster, and Vicky, who is an amazing speaker, has highlighted a few things. I wonder how she highlighted an issue that happened in the 1998. She knows well she was not born by that time, but regardless, it's good to give reference to times back. Let us come back to our motion that disasters don't prepare us. They don't knock our doors to tell us they're going to happen. The kind of disasters we're talking about here in Kenya consist of the current COVID-19 pandemic that has struck the entire world. We're talking about the locust invasion. We're talking about the many lives that have been lost through road accidents. We talk of drought, we talk of HIV, and Vicky has also given us an example of cancer, which has been declared a disaster. And she says, as a country, we have not been prepared enough to deal or to completely deal away with cancer. I'd like to ask her to show us a way maybe we can deal with cancer, because apparently I don't know of a nation that has been able to handle cancer. For our opposers, they are here to tell you that we can evade things. We are here to tell you that we agree and we believe there are failures by our government, there are failures by the people, but we cannot completely shy away to say there have been efforts that have been made by the government collectively with non-governmental organizations to ensure that things can move forward regardless. I will start with a case of Kazi Mtaani. I know many will laugh when I mention Kazi Mtaani, which we believe is a way that cautioned many young people in our country. It enabled them to get money to support them and their day-to-day activities. For example, working for 2-3 hours and getting 450 shillings in a day for 5 days. In a month, you are walking away with roughly 9,000 shillings. This was money that was pumped by the government to at least caution the young people who are out here doing nothing but being at home. That for us was a step forward to ensure and to see that as a country, we are making bold steps. When you talk about drought, I think of Katilu irrigation scheme that is in Turkana. As we speak right now, it feeds more than 35,000 people in that region. We talk of Pekera irrigation scheme that is situated in Baringo County, feeding more than 13,000 people. These are efforts the government has at least tried to ensure that we are moving forward and we are soldiering on as a country. When I think of disasters, I also think of COVID-19 response teams that have been put forth. The government from the very first day announced that they're going to put a team to ensure that Kenyans are cautioned, families which are experiencing dire need of food are going to be supported. It was not implemented to the latter. We could not, or the government cannot fully reach out to other people, but at least efforts have been made. My team and my opponents will agree with us that they cannot single-handedly say we have lost lives courtesy of hunger during COVID-19. We don't want to see that as a success. They want to see that as a failure. We have seen other years when people have been dying because of drought and because of hunger, but apparently during COVID-19, the same people are saying the government did not put enough effort. Today are standing here to say, we need to say nothing is being done. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about these measures, I'm thinking about online learning for our students. I mean, I know not every student has been reached out, but we are going to give you more reasons why we believe as a country, as a people, we have made tremendous effort in ensuring that we fight disasters, and in the near future, we are better off as a people and as a nation. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you very kindly, Derek. That is a very passionate presentation. Derek joining us from Nairobi. Of course, we also had from Manoti joining us from Nyeri, and Victory joining us from Kiambu County. Now we head to the second speaker, the opposing side, Ian Nyongeza from the Technical University of Kenya. Ian, karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the avid readers of books, Francis Mbuga, in his book Betrayal in the City, he uses the character Mulili, and Mulili comes out to say that when the madness of an entire nation disturbs a solitary mind, then it is not enough to say that the man is mad. I don't believe Victory. I believe Victory and I are not mad. We're just disturbed. Now, according to the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, UNISDR, a disaster is a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or society, involving widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts which exceeds the ability of the affected community to cope using its own resources. Now, disaster preparedness, according to as discussed in the risk reduction symposium, disaster preparedness includes precautionary measures taken in advance of an imminent threat of a catastrophe, either natural or human, in order to empower a society to respond and cope with the potential impact of the catastrophe or atrocity at hand. Now, that Kenya is ever prepared to tackle disasters is a dream too heavy for our beds, and this is the basic premise of my argument. Now, you see, as a country, we lack a clear legal and institutional framework to deal with pandemics and to deal with disasters. See, the motion clearly states, or the question in hand is Kenya ever prepared to handle disasters? I want you to look at the word ever. Are we ever prepared to handle disasters? Now, proposers, it would interest you to know that Kenya participated in the Hyogo Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction in 2004 after the Indian Ocean tsunami of 26 December 2004. And according to this framework, priority action number 1 is to ensure that disaster risk reduction is a national and local priority with a strong institutional basis for implementation. Now, I don't know if this has been met by our government. Derek clearly states that the problem is not the government alone. The problem is the government and we as citizens of the same government. But then, looking at a case study on May 9th, 2018 of Solai, I think you all remember when the dam at the Patel Dam burst its bank and killed 48 people and left 200 homeless. Now, I wanted, Manoti mentioned of Kenya Red Cross and its response. Manoti, it will interest you to know that the Kenya Red Cross took a maximum of 48 hours, that is 2 days, to ensure that the last person had been saved. And you know, the last person being saved is not that he is alive or she is alive, she was dead or he was dead. 48 hours, then you call it that that the government rapidly responds to disasters. That aside, we lack a culture of preparedness as a country. Now, Derek, to answer your question, that the problem is not the government alone, the problem is us. I want you to look at how Kenyans have dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, you're putting on a mask because you don't want to be at loggerheads with the security personnel. That is the reason why you're putting on a mask, not because you want to keep yourself safe from the pandemic or from the COVID-19. See, Kenya is a nation prone to conflicts, slow onset natural disasters such as drought and famine, and equally rapid onset disasters such as floods, landslide, disease outbreak. And I find it absurd that every time a disaster strikes, we are always on the losing end. Derek, the case study, you see, COVID-19, the first case was recorded on 31st December 2019. The first case in Kenya was recorded on 12th March 2020. Now, Derek, you say that disasters come without warning. Wasn't that a warning enough? Wasn't that a warning enough? Do you want to be flagged off? Do you want now to be told that COVID-19 is here? Now get prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, they say that we think outside the box, but Derek, I think it's high time we start thinking without the box. Because the box is limiting us. The box is limiting. The COVID-19 has cost 3,895 deaths so far, yet it came with a warning. But then Derek says disasters come without a warning. Ladies and gentlemen, let's think.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. That is from Ian. Ian joining us all the way from the Technical University of Kenya. And the members of the audience. Ian, wonderful. So we've allowed the speakers the first and the second round. And now this is the time for the members of the audience, in case you have any questions here, to pose to them before we come back to them for questions, to respond to these questions. Indeed, this debate, I don't know where this energy is coming from, but how I wish Derek's face could be seen, because that's the comment that I saw the other side, people mentioning that we can hear the voice, but we can't see the face. Could it be that he fears facing the audience and facing the opponent? Anyway, he apologized that because of issues could not be avoided of electricity, and we can't see his face today. So, fitting question from the comment section. Let me see if there's any question, but in the meantime, if you have any question, you can just lift your hand. My timekeeper on that side, give us a total of 5 minutes for this segment to pick the question from the members of the audience here. Manoti is asking a question to the opposers. What is it that the government is not doing to prepare for disasters? Okay, what is it that the government is not doing to prepare for the disasters? Then Wilder says that Derek, where the question is Kenya ever prepared for disasters? The projects you have stated were brought after so many loss of lives. So I think he wants you just to clarify that. She wants you to clarify that, sorry. Are there any questions from the members of the audience? Is there any hand raised? Let me see from, wonderful. Lynn Agoya, go first. Lynn Agoya, go first. Okay, Professor Weshuli.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lynn, go on.
Okay, I'll go first.
Just your introduction and where you're joining us.
This will go to the opposers. Okay, I'm Lynn Agoya and I'm joining you all the way from Nairobi County.
Okay.
And this will go to the opposers. Personally, I believe that there is no success without failure. So you are really complaining that Kenya hasn't done anything to tackle disasters. So my question is that what do you want Kenya as a country to do for you to see that it is really struggling and trying, and Kenya is prepared to tackle disaster? Because it can't be Kenya can't be 100% perfect as you expect it to be. But as a country, I really am seeing that Kenya is really trying at its best. So what do you want Kenya to do for you to see that it's really prepared to tackle disasters? Yeah.
Wonderful. That's a very good question there. So then we go to Professor Weshuli. Professor Weshuli, unmute. Tell us your name and where you are joining us from, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We can't get you well. Prof hatukusikii.
Okay, are you getting me?
Yes, that is better.
Okay, I'm Professor Weshuli. I'm getting you live from Uasin Gishu County, Eldoret town.
Yes.
So my question goes to the opposers. I've heard the way Victoria said that the drought for 1999, it costed Kenya $340 million to respond to that particular disaster. But if Kenya would have been prepared for it, they would have spent $170 million. So my question is, under which condition or how did she come up to calculate and arrive at that 170 million? Because when she tells us how, I think it can be very important for this country. I would really like to know. And what did she consider for her to arrive that they will have spent 170 million US dollars?
Thank you. Any questions from any member of the audience? Okay, let me see the other side, what is happening. So on the other side, someone is saying how we wish President Kenyatta to be watching this discussion and this great debate, and some people still complaining of Derek's face not being seen. Don't worry, he explained himself. So with no further questions, just remind everyone who is joining us right now that tonight we're taking a question on is Kenya, or are we ever ready to tackle disasters as a country? This has been a month we've been discussing motions on COVID-19, because remember, we have thematic areas for every month. Next month, we'll be talking about governance, but we'll be introducing that shortly before we come to the end of this debate. So this whole month has been a month of COVID-19, and we felt okay to discuss this matter of preparedness towards tackling disasters and outbreak of diseases, and I mean, everything around this field. So the debaters on the panel, we have Manoti, that is Hudson Ochingo from Nyeri, that is from Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri County. Then we have Derek Were, who is joining us from Nairobi. He's also a program coordinator here at Kamdi Voices. On the opposing side, we have Victory Mugambi, who is a student at the Kenyatta University and joining us from Kiambu County. Then Ian Nyongesa joining us from the Technical University of Kenya. Now, at this moment, I'll allow them each speak again another round of 3 minutes each. Remember, when you hear the first bell, it means you have a minute to go. So you have 3 minutes each to clarify anything pending and also to respond to the questions that have been posed to you. The first speaker, the proposing side, Hudson Ochingo.
Yeah, thank you so much for the chance. I would like to say this. Whoever comes to equity comes with clean hands, ladies and gentlemen. The COVID-19 came from China in 2019, December. Most deaths that were reported worldwide came from the United States of America. Do you want to tell me that the United States was not prepared for the COVID-19? In Kenya, so far, yesterday, the president was in the UK. He met with the Prime Minister Boris Johnson. They promised that they are adding additional 817,000 vaccine doses in order to allow people to be vaccinated in order to provide herd immunity. Personally, I've been vaccinated against COVID-19. Were it not that the government was not prepared, we couldn't be vaccinated for COVID-19 at the moment. I've got my 2 doses already. And there are many Kenyans who are ongoing for the vaccination at various vaccination centers. Let's give credit to where it's due. Majority of the countries globally are struggling to tackle this pandemic. It has had various effects from economic to trade, to education, to businesses, to health. But majority of the governments have changed their manifestos. They have changed their way of governance, and they have concentrated on curbing the pandemic. If you are watching the games that are ongoing, the Olympic Games for Tokyo, people are in the stadium. If you are watching the Euros, people are at the stadium because people have been vaccinated. Most of the countries in the UK have been vaccinated, and that's why they are in the stadium. So let's be honest with ourselves. The government has done what's humanly possible to curb the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. That is Hudson from Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri County, and who also brands himself as a social media influencer. Okay, the first speaker, the opposing side, you have your 3 minutes, Victory Mugambi.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off by answering what Professor Wishuli asked. Where did I get my calculations? And I think we have the privilege of having the internet and being able to research. So where I got my research from is actually from the National Policy for Disaster Management, March 2009. It was a research done on how Kenya has managed disasters from 2009 backwards. That's where I got the information of 340 USD as compared to 170 USD million that were to be used had we been prepared. So you can go find it. It's a policy. It's out there. It's under the Ministry of the State for Special Programs under the Office of the President. So I hope that answers your question on how I got my facts. Now, a lot of questions have been posed to us as the opposers on what measures we feel like the government needs to take, and I will let Ian respond to that. But what I would like to say is because you're given basic needs and your basic human rights does not mean you're getting the best of things. Now, something Manoti said, and I think we need to clarify, is that Red Cross is not an organization of the government. I asked to correct you. It collaborates with the government. It's part of other humanitarian organizations that work with the government to handle disasters. Now, to clarify, or just to make you understand, the reason you're saying we are not prepared is we don't have funds. There's an inadequacy of funds. When you're only given 5% of the total national budget to handle disasters, it's not enough for the plate of disasters that we have as a nation. And that 5% is again divided to 80% of the 5% and 80% of the 5% to go to other things. So we need to understand the dynamics of finances and how resources helps. And because we don't invest well, means we don't have the human capacity and workforce to respond to these disasters and to prepare for them. And let us understand the motion is preparedness and not responsiveness, because what I'm getting from the proposers, a lot of response instead of a lot of preparedness. Preparing is training people on how to wash their hands, if that is what we saw in China. So when we talk about these things, healthcare workers, we need better hospitals, we need better roads, we need better equipment to handle disasters. We need more investment. We need accountability of resources, and we need a task force that is working and people on the ground. That is what we need, among very many other things, to help this country better prepare itself. Because you're being given your basic human rights, you need to get better than your basic human right. You're a taxpayer and you need to demand the money that you're getting, that you're paying the government for a better service. Countries apart, you need to do better. That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not doing enough, but something better needs to be done. It is not enough at all. That's all.
Wonderful. From Victory Mugambi. Second speaker, the proposing team, Derek Were.
Thank you so much. Trust you me, I'm burning right now. I'm listening to some of the things Vicky is saying and Ian, and I'm surprised. For example, Vicky says that 5% is the budget that was allocated to tackle issues relating to disaster. And she says that is not enough money. You know, we are not living every day in a life of disaster. When money is pumped into education, that is a preparedness for disaster. For example, if students are not able to go to school, they're going to learn online. That is an example. There was a question that was asked by Wilder Nyagoha, and I want to react to the question in reference to what Vicky has said, that we are giving response and not preparedness to disaster. I want to ask this simple question. All of a sudden, there is a volcano eruption. How do you prepare people before that eruption? Most of the things we are discussing are post. You cannot prepare people earlier on. For example, road accident, people die. How do you prepare families of those who are going to lose their members before that accident happens, that this is what they're going to expect? So these are things we have to discuss, and measures that are going to be taken after these things have occurred. They're beyond human nature. And as we have explained what disaster is, these are things that are beyond human in nature. They come out of human factors or out of natural factors. Ian has mentioned something to do with Solai Dam. And to be honest, that was a poor negligence from the owners and authorities. We are not here to say we do not recognize steps that the government has failed and other people have failed to ensure that lives have been protected and properties have been protected. All we are here to say is there is tremendous effort made by government, the people of Kenya, and other stakeholders to ensure that we move forward as a people. When we talk about disaster, I'm thinking about the online learning I was mentioning earlier on. Where on earth, even in our local countries, have we seen a country where students are still ongoing with their current studies, or students are still doing their studies? Where on earth, Victory Mugambi, you have friends, you have a sister, who have graduated. courtesy of COVID-19. I mean, they graduated online. People are calling them online graduates, but they are people who are competent enough to do their jobs. They are not people who cannot do their job professionally. We have students today who are going back to school, and the government has set good measure to ensure by the end of 2022, we go back to 2023 with our system going back as first term starting in January and ending in the end of March the same year. The government has tried. During COVID-19, government staff were earning their salaries. Teachers working in government were earning their salaries, at least to caution them during COVID-19. These are many people benefited. When I think of COVID, I also think about a young man by the name Evans, 29-year-old person living with disability from Busia County, started working through the Kazi Mtaani, saved enough money, started, farming, keeping pigs in the house, and he took himself to college. These are stories we need to share outside there. We are not saying that there are no failures in this system. We're not saying that the government has not failed. All we are saying is it has made good effort to fight disasters, to tackle disasters, and we believe, our government, we believe the people of Kenya are doing their best to ensure they can tackle any disasters that come forth in the near future and any other time. Thank you so much.
Wonderful from Derek. Derek saying that despite being in the darkness, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Ian, you're 3 minutes in right now, sir.
Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see, we are not saying that the government has completely failed. No. The government is trying yet, but then the efforts are not enough. That is what we are trying to say. Now, listen, Lynn, you asked that, what do we want to see? What we want to see is the government develop standard operating procedures. That is what we want to see. What we want to see is better subnational allocation of the budget and early disbursement of the same for the preparedness of disasters. What we want to see, Lynn, is sensitization of the masses. Now, Derek, you said that, how do you prepare someone for a road accident? Derek, you tell someone don't drink and drive and show them the effects of drinking and drive. That is how. Derek, you tell someone do not go to the road with unroadworthy vehicles. That is how. Derek, you sit down and tell your police officers that ensure a vehicle that the PSV is carrying the required number of people. Derek, that is how. Now, Hudson, it will interest you to know that, you see, for the people who study demography is the study of population. When you look at the population pyramid of the United States, there are more elderly people than the young people. That is why the United States recorded many deaths. When you facts have it that most people in the United States are smokers. True. And I'm not a medic, but then smoking weakens your lungs. COVID attacks the lungs. Do you expect to survive after that? Now, yet another thing is, you see, I'm saddened. I'm really saddened by Derek saying that, you see, the funds being allocated and such, and the government is prepared. You see, I will take you back to the COVID-19 pandemic. Derek, Jack Ma donated up to 1 million plus boxes of masks, but then all of a sudden they disappear. That is how prepared your country is. Derek, 11 months ago, Dennis Okari did an expose of COVID-19 millionaires. That is how prepared your country is. Thank you.
Wonderful listening to all the speakers. All your 3 minutes have been utilized well. So at this moment, we just want to take a very short break just to hear from the members of the audience as we prepare to come back to you with a minute each, because I still see we have some time by our side. So prepare your last 1 minute. Why should we believe that your side is the best? Why should we believe that the government is prepared to tackle, that Kenya is ever ready to tackle disasters? And why should we believe that Kenya is not ready, is never ready to tackle disasters? From the audience here in the virtual hall, do we have anyone who has a very quick reaction? Because I've been seeing all the messages coming in from different people here. If I give you maybe just 2 to 3 minutes, maybe just a 30 seconds, just a quick reaction before we come to the end of the debate. Lina Goya is saying, Ian, hasn't the government done that? It has really educated us, but still these disasters take place. That is Lynn's quick reaction. Professor says, Ian, whatever you are saying is done by the Kenyan government, so I don't know which country you are referring to. Okay, great. Manoti says 1 billion shilling was allocated for the floods in the budget 2021, 2022. So according to Manoti, that is actually preparedness. Professor West says Derek is on the point. I hope whoever asked to be educated is now full of knowledge. That is from Professor Wishuli. Sorry, Sabine saying Derek is oozing wisdom from base of darkness. I can confirm that there's the light at the end of the tunnel. Of course, yes, then we have also Prof here saying, they know that Kenya is not prepared to face disaster. The reality is that Kenyan government is ready to tackle, only that one cannot tell what kind of disaster is coming. So the preparation is very general. Anyone from any person from the virtual audience here, you can maybe just unmute very well. Ohisa Oduho, turn on your video and introduction, who you are, where you're joining us from, brother.
Yes, my name is Ohisa Oduho, and I'm joining you from Kibra constituency, Nairobi County. And mine is a quick comment, and to say that indeed this is a well-distinguished panel full of indeed highly intelligent individuals who have both brought out their submissions very well. However, I believe on the side of those who are proposing, I believe it was important to have highlighted the issue that corruption is playing in the prevention of disasters. And while that is much important, I believe it was not mentioned lest I came late. Nonetheless, beautiful discussion, and I'm glad to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, with the African flag behind you. Asante sana. Any person else would like to react to these the presentation very fast before I come back to the speakers to give us their last 1 minute each? Christian Musandu from the African Heart Foundation, if you'd like to give a quick reaction. Omondi Roslyn from Mount Kenya University, just a quick reaction if you are here. Christian Musandu, are we ever prepared to tackle disasters, Christian? Christian, we can see you. Oh, yes, we can hear you. Go on. Christian, we can't hear you now. Christian, we can't hear you. Maybe you can mute and unmute again. As that happens, let me see very fast, Rosalind Omondi, any quick reaction? Professor Weshuli, you can unmute and give a quick reaction before we come to the end of this discussion. If anyone has a word, say it now or don't say it. Okay. Wilda Nyagoha, our timekeeper, maybe if you have a quick reaction also. Wilda, if you are here. Yes, Christian. Christian, if you're back, now you can give it a try before we come back to the debaters. Christian. Yes, Professor Weshuli, go on, go first. Prof, work on your audio kindly. Just recheck the audio. Do what you did the other time. Do what you did in Canon.
Okay, I think that you can get me.
Very well.
Very well. Okay, thank you. So I'd like first to congratulate the debaters. I think they were well prepared. So one thing I'd also like to comment on is that I'd like the opposers also to understand that some of the things I've heard, like what Derek has just mentioned, like the Kazi Mtani and the other things that the Kenyan government is putting in, those are some of the preparations that you are putting people into, because remember, as COVID-19, when everything was being locked down, people get to resist that because of being because of the economy, the financial stability. So we prepare people to be ready to face the disaster by making them to be economically stable. And that's why such programs get to empower the youth, to empower the nation, so that in case of a disaster, at least we are ready to face it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other person? And in absence of anyone, there's someone who has sent me a message here that's listening to Ian speak, and the number of times he has mentioned Derek's name reminds him of the presentation by Lynn Agoya sometimes back, and how she kept on referring to Wilda. Osha vyombo, Wilda. Umeosha watoto, Wilda. Umefagia nyumba. But anyway, here we are. So Yes, and let me see. There's a comment here from Christine wondering what's wrong. Can you hear you well? But you can't hear me. Sorry, Christine. Kila mtu anakuwa na siku mbaya once in a while, but don't worry. We'll keep on the conversation even online. So back to the debaters, each with a minute to convince us why you believe we should all be swayed towards your direction. First speaker, the proposing side, Manoti. Your 1 minute begins right now, sir.
Yeah, thanks, sir. I would like to just clarify on what Odua said, the role that corruption is playing in as much as the government is trying to mitigate these disasters. I can tell you for free, the Director of Public Prosecution has a case against the so-called COVID billionaires. And in the meantime, we'll be able to bring the culprits to book. The government is doing all that it can possible to make sure that all of us are safe. We are able to overcome the disasters that are beyond our ability. Number two, the government is able to respond as quickly as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the fire disasters, you have seen the fire brigade at the site. If possible, they have been able to be evacuated and all the lives saved. So, thank you.
Thank you. And that marks your last presentation in this whole debate. Asante sana Manoti, joining us from Nyeri, from Dedan Kimathi University. First speaker, the proposing team, Victory Mugambi, looks and sounds very angered by these people now.
Very, very, because I feel like we are living in a facade and in our own imaginative country that we don't know how the system of this country works. Now, this is why you should be convinced that this country is not prepared and is never prepared for disasters. As has been stated and mentioned earlier, the state of corruption in this country is sickening and it is sad, meaning there's infiltration in every sector, and the money that should go to disaster risk assessment, because it seems that none of you is familiar with what we call risk assessment, disaster risk assessment, and disaster preparedness and how people should be created aware and responsiveness is being stolen. It is just corruption. That the reason why we are never prepared, we never have prepared, we have a corruption culture. That's why we have road accidents every other day. We have drivers who haven't qualified with driving license driving on our roads, because you can corrupt your way through this system. As long as you know someone, as long as you can rub someone's back, you can qualify for anything in this country, and that is wrong. And that is how this country is never prepared for disaster. As long as money talks more than our lives, we will never be ready. Thank you.
Wonderful. Victory, joining from Kenyatta University and also resident of Kiambu County. Asante sana Vicky for your very generous and well-researched presentation. Second speaker from the proposing team, and definitely also the last speaker of the proposing team, Derek Were.
There is always light at the end of the tunnel, something I always believe. Apparently, Vicky has said it's a facade, a fake face. I don't think that is the case. I don't think if we were as this bad as they think, we could have saved so many lives during this pandemic. I don't know if there's a country they know in this world where they don't have roadworthy vehicles. I don't know in the world where we have not heard of cases, people dying because of unprecedented activities. But I know of my country that has always tried to ensure they can caution its people through Kazi Mtaani, through online learning, to ensure things can still go on. Trying to caution businessmen and businesswomen to ensure that their business can still keep on moving. I know of my country that will never give me 100%. I know of a country that will always have a say to ensure that it can do better. I know corruption exists, and I know I'll always call corruption as it is, but I'll not shy away from saying we are doing all we can, at least to save lives, at least to save what we have as a country. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Derek. That's the last speaker of the proposing side and the third last speaker in this conversation. So we had the last speaker of the opposing side, who also is the last speaker of this debate. Ian, take us home with your 1 minute, sir. Ian, unmute, kindly. Unmute.
Oh, sorry for that. Esteemed audience, ladies and gentlemen, it's sickening to hear people talk of Kazi Mtaani. I was a member of Kazi Mtaani. I've not been paid to debt, so I don't know how I'm being prepared economically. I don't know. I don't understand. St. Paul to the Galatians, that is Galatians chapter 3, verse 1. He asks the Galatians that, you foolish Galatians, who bewitched you? Who bewitched you? So I'd like to pose the same question, minus the foolish part, that you Kenyans, who bewitched you? Now, okay, I'll give Derek an answer that where do we have unroadworthy vehicles? Not a country, but then Derek, in Dubai, we don't have unroadworthy vehicles. That is the response I'd like to give you. Now, in general, ladies and gentlemen, as a country, we have failed. We are never prepared to handle disasters, because if we were, we will not be seeing our citizens die uncolorful deaths. We will not be seeing our brothers and sisters being fed on bullets at the Westgate Mall attack. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. If possible, kindly just unmute all of you, the four, and let's clap together. It has been a good debate. It has been a very good debate. That's the beauty of debate, that even different clash. Can unmute? Some noise coming.
No, not really.
It is from your side. Okay.
Pardon?
Ian, mute, tafadhali. Okay, asante sana. So as I was saying before that that happened, just thank you all for joining this debate and also showing up to be ready. It has been like one intense week of preparation as we do it, 7 days of preparing on a motion. Are we ever ready as a country to tackle disasters? And this is bringing us to an end of a month that we've been doing debates, a series of debates on COVID-19, and we are finishing with checking on our preparedness towards tackling disasters. As a country, as a people, regardless where we are coming from, Western Kenya, Northeastern, Eastern, Nairobi, the Central region, the Southwest, Coastal region, the question is, are we ever ready to tackle disasters? Whether the answer is yes or no on this debate, what is important that we have to keep on making sure that we can better our systems, we can better everything that how our life and how our country is. These debates are brought to you not just because we would like to challenge each other, but we challenge each other based on ideas, presenting facts. People do their research, and they present them to you because we believe as young people, we have to keep educating each other. Not educating you, but educating each other. When we read your comments, when you hear from the debaters, I believe there's some change happening, all of us. And because our rule also here as a debater, as a moderator, is not my job also to influence the direction of these debates, I would like to leave it there. But just to remind you all that keep subscribing to our YouTube channel, that is the Camp D Voices. We're not asking you to subscribe so that we teach you how to cook water or how to boil tea or how to prepare something. We're just asking you to subscribe so that we keep on having these amazing conversations. In case you have any topic you'd like us to cover or any thematic area you feel you'd like to cover, please just drop us a message as a comment, then definitely we'll get in touch with you. I would like also to pass a great appreciation to all those who are working behind the scenes, the likes of Alex Uburu and so many others on the media team, ensuring that these conversations are happening both on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, of course, with the video running live on YouTube. And to all of you who joined in the virtual call here for the great debate, and all those joining us for the first time, either as speakers or members of the audience. Without you, these debates are not possible. Ian from the Technical University, on behalf of Camp D Voices, pass our regards to students, fraternity, and all comrades. Great. Victory Mugambi, to the KU comrades, all the best to you even as you prepare for your graduation very soon. Manoti from the Dedan Kimathi University in Nyeri, pass our regards there to all of you. And of course, Derek Were from Nairobi, keep doing what you're doing best, because ipo siku, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Asanteni sana, do have a good night. Let's meet again next week as we start the month of tackling debates on governance, a series of governance debates. Asanteni, have a good night. I've been your host, Okoth Opono from the Camp D.